Top of the morning to you, lads. Born shining here. We're all born shining. I'm born shining. You're born shining. Don't let nobody ever tell you otherwise. They don't know what they're talking about. They're straight lying to you. Feel the sunrise. I just want to give thanks to the universe and the great creator for another beautiful morning. Or grand rising, I should say. I'm not mourning shit. Maybe the death of my old life. But I'm not even really mourning that. Uh, yeah, thank you, Great Spirit, Universal Life Force. I thank Ra, archangels, spirit guides, ancestors, spirit animals, crossed over loved ones. There's a lot going on here, folks. Um, this vid is about. I'm just gonna retell my story, just kind of like update what I think is going on, because nobody's offering any kind of clarity, and the people that would, um, I think, are liars, and they're clearly narcissists. I mean, there's no, the guesswork has been removed from all of that. I mean, these people, I can't, I just really can't believe that I ever invested any kind of emotional faith into these people, to be quite honest with you. Because it's been almost 9 months that I've been experiencing this kind of solitude, isolation. I mean, that's what it looks like. But, these people are just cold. They're cold motherfuckers, man. They just don't, they have no hearts, it seems, you know? But anyways, so on Lionsgate, you know, well, I'll just take it back a step because the other day I sent out something to over there to Sunbindi Tarot. She's out in, I think, Australia somewhere. I mean, that's what her, yeah, she's in Australia. Anyways, um, she was telling me a little bit about her story, and it made me think about like when did all of this start for me. And I would say, this person that pretty much, who I think just tried to throw me under every bus possible. Um, we broke up in 2012, so it's been about 10 years that we've had the potential to uh, right the ship, as it were. But that was our first breakup, and it's pretty much identical to this one, except at that point we didn't have three beautiful children. Um, we had no beautiful children, um, but she made her decisions, and that was when I started my healing journey. Probably was 2012, and some of these songs that I'm recording now and releasing, I wrote at that point, um, as a part of my healing journey to help me um, keep it together and stay focused. Because not just because the music out there, most of it I don't really vibe with, but much like now, I didn't really have any physical 3D people that I could rely on to uh, talk to me about any of these things or listen to me. And I mean, the world where I came from, um, it just wasn't prepared. It wasn't prepared to handle any of this stuff, any of these emotional intelligence kinds of things. So I think it started actually in 2012, and I want to thank Sun Bindi Tarot for uh, helping my memory to activate that fact, you know. And let's be clear too. 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar, so we passed a marker at that point. The Mayan calendar was created as the end of times, and it's because it's not that the world is going to end. All right, that's some fear-based 3D matrix nonsense crap. It's that we're in a new time. Energy is different now. The It's like we're learning to walk again. You know, it's like the way that the universe works in these 23,000 year cycles. It's like we completed one of those. And so when you're transitioning from one energy to another, it's not like you just walk through a threshold. I mean, it sort of is, but energetically, it's like there's a blend there. You know what I mean? It's like It's like when you've got a color palette, if you're an artist, and you're mixing uh, blue and yellow, like on one side you'll have blue, on one side you'll have yellow, and in the middle you have green, you know, and at least I'm pretty sure that's the color you get. Anyway, uh, you know what I'm saying? And so it's not so cut and dry. Um, and so, yeah, 2012 we passed a marker, and I was celebrating that shit, and I felt it. I felt really good. Um, and then other things happened. I went back to this person, and we started a family, and you know, and at this point now I kind of have an impression, and I have an idea of like why she came back around, and just the way that everything unfolded. Um, I can see a lot more now in hindsight. But anyways, fast forward to last year, 2021, August, Lionsgate. Um, I woke up from a dream, and it's not like our relationship was going great, and then I woke up from a dream, and I was like, oh shit, it was like it was going poorly. I was doing. I was pretty much withdrawn from the relationship at that point because I realized that there was no communication. There wasn't going to be any communication. Um, my partner was not a person that was going to take ownership over anything that she was doing. Um, avoid. She just wanted to avoid things and keep going and try to pressure me into doing things that doesn't make any sense. And she knew that they didn't make sense to me, but what could she do at that point? So, you know, had this dream, woke up from the dream. In the dream, I'm pretty sure that I saw my own death. It's kind of fuzzy, but I woke up, and when I woke up from the dream, it was like my body had changed. Like my physical body had changed. Like I went to sleep the night before with certain uh, certain things wrong with my body. Like my feet were swollen, my legs were swollen, and like weird shit that is kind of atypical for me. Um, anyway, when I woke up from the dream, they were gone. All of that stuff was like, it was like my body went back to normal. And I had this amazing sense of clarity. It was like, and the only way that you can know that anything was going on is because it's different, It's like if I would have woke up the same way that I woke up the previous day, I wouldn't have had any kind of idea um, what was going on. But like I woke up and it was like extra clear, you know? It was different. It was like, if you've ever had too much to drink and you wake up with a hangover and you're groggy and shit, that's different than when you don't do that, you know? And it was like that. It was like, I woke up, and it was like the night before I did the same exact thing that I had done the previous nights, but it just didn't, it was just very different. And so I took note of that. With the dream, coupled with the dream and waking up different, um, I took note of that. And then I just had this thought that I should go and watch tarot on YouTube. And so I did. And started learning about it. Wasn't immediate. I didn't just jump in and say like, oh, they're talking about me. It's like I watched it for, I probably hung out at that place for a little bit longer than I needed to. But when your reality is shifting in that kind of a way, uh, you want to be cautious, you know. And so I was, especially with my background and my training and my family history is military, and it's very, very 3D. And so, jumping into the idea that these people were talking about me in tarot land, um, that wasn't my first go-to, but I started watching it, and I really did feel like they were talking about me, and not in like an ego way. It's just noticing things that people said, and it was like, oh shit, I do that, or hey, that's something that you know I feel, or I do, or I did, or whatever. And so as I started getting more into it, at a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a test to see what the hell is going on here, and I did. I started kind of seeing if I could get some feedback. And I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in accidents or coincidence or luck or any of that stuff. So when I was having conversations with people, like for example, I had a conversation with my parents, and they tried to gaslight me about what happened, the trauma and the abuse that I experienced as a child, and I fucking went off on them, so to speak. Definitely, my dad started yelling with my mom, and I just kind of cut it out. But then, with my dad, he tried to gaslight me, and I pretty much told him to not to tell me shit because he was telling me, I was telling him that I was watching tarot. I told him everything because I thought he was on my side. I thought he was out there to help me. So I told him about my dream. I told him that I went and watched tarot, and he was like, "Oh, you got to be careful with that. You got to watch out for that." And he's a deacon in the Catholic Church. He's working towards it, or was. Um, and we know what their history is like. I mean, they're not saints. It's funny, but yeah. So he's telling me, he's like, "Oh, you got to be careful with the tarot." And I told him, I was like, "Bro, don't tell me shit about integrity or anything. It's like you're not in a place to tell me a damn thing." And later on that day or the next day, I saw some videos with like Scorpio. You know, it's like, "Damn, Scorpio, your power, bro." And it's like, "Oh shit, man! Like this ain't no bullshit. This is really real." And as I started waking up to the idea and the uh, the reality of energy and like the things that I believed up until that point, that kind of led me to that made this not so weird. It's like we're all energy, and all of it is energy. And if who am I to say? I'm not out here trying to be more special or more important than anybody, but if the universe is highlighting something that it wants me to see, then it I don't know, I guess it amplified my shit enough so that people could see what's going on in the energy and convey back to me what's happening, because the universe also knows that because of my trauma and because of my um, the things that I experienced, my subconscious, I didn't really have access to all of these things. Like I needed help to piece it all together because my subconscious was blocking things from me that were maybe too challenging, um, or painful for me to see, and maybe I wouldn't have even believed it at the time. And so when I woke up from the dream, I started watching the tarot, and I came to the conclusion that these people were talking about me. And rather than just jumping in, I tested it, and I went to see, and it's like, yeah, no, that's legit. Or at least everything kept lining up. And even today, it's like I have experiences where you know, I watch the sunrise, and I'm hearing people talking about, it's like, oh yeah, you like to watch the sunrise. And these readings, these are collective readings. These aren't just for me. So, um, whatever. I don't need to prove myself. I'm just letting you know what my experience is. And the real point of this video is more to say that despite the fact that uh, I still don't have any 3D world evidence. It's like everybody wants to pretend like nothing's happening and that I'm crazy. Uh, the things that I don't know are starting to become kind of dwarfed by the things that I do know. And the things that I do know is that, you know, the universe is alive. It's a what do you want to call it? God, universal life force. I mean, there's lots of different relationships and terms that you can use. I like to use universal life force because it's not really loaded like the word God. Lots of people use the word God in different ways. Universal life force is pretty hard to fuck that one up and manipulate that shit, you know? So the universal life force, it is alive and it's communicating with me. I think it's communicating with everybody. I just choose to listen and I choose to interact with it. I maybe not always knew what it was, but call it your intuition, call it your gut feeling. It's your dreams, it's your subconscious. That's that small part of you that wants to see you reach your potential. You just need to have the courage to follow the signs. It's not about being special or anything like that. It's just about being willing to follow the signs. And so, you know, I just again want to highlight that, like, while uh, I still don't have any 3D world evidence other than what's coming from these tarot readers and these collective readings, which could be for anybody. Theoretically, it could be for anybody. And I'm not reading every single one. There's so many. I mean, I'm just following the ones. I just look at the ones that I feel guided to watch. The ones that I feel like are gonna offer me some kind of information that's gonna help my situation. I'm not interested in what happens to these people. I'm not interested in their karma. I'm not really interested in, like, how fucking stupid they are or any of that shit. It's like I just want to get on with my life. I want to figure out more about who I am, more about my gifts and my talents, you know, and learn how to use them to create some stability in my life so I can have my children back. That's really my priority right now is is smoothing this out in my mind, you know, learning what has been hidden from me for my whole life and coming to terms with the fact that my whole life is pretty much not real. It's just kind of an illusion. The people I met and the experiences that I had and the things that I learned as a result of those interactions are real. My experience is real. But in terms of what other people do or did, or the illusions that they presented me with, like my parents presented me with the illusion um, that they love me or that I'm not who I am, all of that kind of stuff, and just smoothing it all out, ironing it all out, and really getting comfortable with the fact that really I've not been. It's real. It's just a paradox. It's like, and this video might cut out, and I'll just maybe keep it going in another one. But it's kind of a paradox. It's like I feel like I was born gifted. I was born saying things and doing things that most children maybe don't do or say, and rather than embrace that and cultivate it, they try to hide it and bury it and get it away from them. And so, and honestly, I'm not even sure they're my parents. I can't even be sure that they're my fucking parents right now. It's like I got a lot of questions, but none of that's really important to the kind of connection that I have with the divine. All of that is secondary nonsense. Um, so yeah, rather than embrace it, they tried to hide it and bury it. But the interesting thing is that, like, as much abuse or whatever that I experienced, it's like it still came out subconsciously. That's really the fascinating thing for me, is that, like, all the things that I was interested in and the ways that I was using my gifts, it wasn't conscious to me, but they were still there, you know? Especially like when I look back at, like, playing lacrosse, there's like a lot of lacrosse is really, or at least the way that I played it, uh, I didn't really like to run plays. I liked chaos. I like the chaos, because that's just how I like it. I like the chaos. It's just easier to freeform and do things that people don't really expect. And finding myself in certain situations that, to score based on my intuition, you know? And so scoring goals using these tools that the divine gave me that I didn't even realize I had necessarily, or that I didn't even realize fully that other people weren't operating like this. Like, I felt like I just thought I was normal. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't, and that was kind of the whole point. That was the whole point of the gaslighting, is like they didn't want me to realize who I am and what I'm capable of. And so I'm out here, you know, running around with people, doing the same things as people, but just doing them in a different way, or doing them like in an exceptional way. And it's like I didn't really set out to be special. I just set out to do the best that I could, and have fun. And so it's just really fascinating to me that, like, my subconscious and following my interest in the things that my subconscious would clue me into doing, or the ideas that I would get or whatever. It's like I followed those things, and here we are, awakening in the dream. I mean, that's a book by David Wilcock, and he's got some fascinating information. And I'm not gonna at this point in my life, I'm not gonna subscribe to 100% to what anybody has to say, because everything is personal in that sense. When you're talking about spirituality, it's up to you to develop a personal relationship with the divine, you know. And if there's one thing that's the same, it's that your relationship with God and the universe is totally yours and unique to you, because you're unique. So yeah, but I will say there's a lot of people to learn from. There's a lot of interesting tidbits that we're all here to learn from each other, but we're not here to force our beliefs and opinions on each other. It's a paradox. I know a lot of this stuff maybe seem like I'm talking in circles, but when you really get and think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It's just that most people are too busy living their lives and trying to entertain themselves and distract themselves, that they don't have uh, they don't they don't arrive at these conclusions because they haven't taken the time to get there. So I think we're almost like at 22 minutes. That's enough. But it feels good to talk, and I really appreciate you guys for showing up, and anybody who's watching, and hope this helps. But if anything, definitely helps me just keep my feet on the ground in some ways. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, and love you. Catch the next one. Peace, y'all.